Welcome to Multi-Hyphenate Mastery, the ultimate podcast for those who refuse to be confined or defined by a single title, role, or job. I'm your host, Michael Cinquino, and today I'm excited to share my own journey as a multi-hyphenate. From my early days in the Navy to my adventures in acting, photography, IT consulting, and business education, I'll take you through the twists and turns that have shaped my career and life. So let's dive in. If you're watching on video, and not just the audio version, you watch me read that from the screen because today is the very first episode of this podcast, Multi-Hyphenate Mastery. About 6 hours ago, I had the idea to do this podcast, and as the universe helps you when you're following your bliss, here I am recording my first episode just after, I'm here in the afternoon, New York time, about 4 p.m. I think maybe around 10 a.m. I started on a path to create this, and my first episode's going up to Spotify right now. So I thought the best way to kick this off would be to tell you my story as a multi-hyphenate. And these episodes I want to keep to not more than 20 minutes. So I will be keeping an eye on the time, and I will speed up if I have to or leave some things out if I have to. But when I'm going solo like this, it's going to be not more than 20 minutes. If I've got a guest, maybe a half hour. If I'm going to do a panel, maybe about 45 minutes. But for just Michael on here, it's only going to be about 20 minutes or less. This episode is going to be about my journey. Also, the answer or help for the question when you feel you don't know where to start. I hear that question a lot, or that concern a lot. I don't know where to start. I just don't know where to start. And I'm going to address that in this first episode. So let me give you kind of, I was going to say a 5-minute Michael, but it's going to be longer than 5 minutes, but not longer than 20 minutes. So let me just dive in. So I barely graduated from high school. I enlisted in the Navy at 17 because I knew that I didn't have much of a future. I had basically, at the time at least, I had a 1.3 grade point average. And I don't think I technically graduated from high school. I think it was more of a case like, Cinquino has to go. Let's just get him out of here and send him on his way. And wherever he winds up next, he's going to be their problem. I was a troublemaker in high school. Senior year, I think I missed something like 35 days of class, just not showing up. Again, barely graduated. But at 17, I enlisted in the U.S. Navy. I saw a film called Navy SEALs, and I decided that I was going to be a Navy SEAL. Cut to being in boot camp, September, after graduating from high school in May, or June rather. And I wanted nothing to do with being a Navy SEAL. I realized that you would have to deal with lots of sleep deprivation, which is not something that I'm good at dealing with. I never had to deal with it in my life. All I had was sleeping in on weekends and barely waking up for time on school. But having to, live that way for a long time wasn't going to work for me. So instead of being a Navy SEAL, I decided to pick a career where you did get to sleep for the most part, which was U.S. Navy rescue swimmer. I was on the USS Detroit and a rescue swimmer for about 2.5 years on the USS Detroit. I was 4 years on active duty. And while I was in, I did my first reading. Now, I knew how to read, but I never really read any books. And the first book that I was given by a mentor in the Navy was Marcus Aurelius' Meditations. I highly recommend this book. It's like the OG personal development self-help book. You're literally getting to hear the thoughts of a guy who's the emperor of Rome struggle with his inner demons and his own personal development. It is a fantastic book. I've read it through many, many times, and it was one of these things that was a catalyst for me falling in love with reading, and more specifically, personal development books. So that's how I spent most of my time in the Navy. I'm pretty much doing 2 things, really 3 things. Exercising, reading, and then continuing a little bit of drinking. Maybe more on that later. I left the Navy and wanted to study psychology, so I went to Penn State University to study psych. About a semester in, I met a girl. I liked her. She was an actress. She said, you should audition for this play. I thought to myself, well, if it's going to get me a date, I'll audition for the play. I auditioned. I had no idea what I was doing. I got cast. Opening night on stage. I did something that the audience enjoyed. They found it funny. And being on stage, and it was one of these theaters that was on 3 sides of you. It was kind of theater in the round, if you will. And then having an audience around me respond to something that I did in a positive way was a game changer for me. And my life took a very sharp right-hand turn. Because next semester I decided to become a theater major. And I transferred schools. I went to Penn State. I was at Penn State. I went to DeSales University, which was Allentown College at the time. It was home of the Pennsylvania Shakespeare Festival. It was there I got a really great education. It was a Christian humanist education, although I'm not a religious person. I'm a spiritual person, not really religious. I don't subscribe to any particular religion, but I'm incredibly spiritual, and I certainly believe in the power of the universe. This education was top notch. And for a small school, they really knew what was up. And I like to say I got a degree in doing the play. When I left that school, I knew how to do theater. Everything from lighting design to costumes to acting, directing, staging, you name it. They really put you through the ringer there and make sure that when you leave, you're prepared to be a theater professional. This was incredibly invaluable for me. I didn't realize how valuable this degree would be until many years later. I was on my way to New York to be an actor, but I decided to do a unified audition for graduate schools. I auditioned, and this is where I learned one of the more important life lessons. I gave an audition. I always believe that we're all always auditioning. And we're all always auditioning because people are always asking, is this person right for the role? Whether it's the role of a partner, a lover, a husband, wife, someone to work for you, an investor, a CEO, you name it. You name the role, either on a conscious or unconscious level. People are asking the question, is this person right for the role? Now, when I went into audition for graduate schools, I didn't really want to get into graduate school. I was on my way to New York to, quote, be an actor. And I was well prepared to audition. And I picked really great material for me as an actor. So when I went in there, all I did was have fun. I did my job as an actor was to go there and share my work. And as a result of being in that mindset, mostly all the schools in the room had interest in me. I still didn't have interest in going to grad school until one school in particular, Rutgers University. Deborah Headwall was the head of acting there, and William Esper, the legendary acting teacher, was the founder of this program. And Deborah said, you got to come sit in on a class. I was like, oh, okay, I'm not going to grad school, but I'll sit in on a class. And this was another game changer for me. I discovered the work of Sanford Meisner. He is someone that created his own acting technique. He's part of the Great American Theater movement, along with Lee Strasberg and Uta Hagen and those folks, the Marlon Brandos, the Harold Klermans of the world. If you don't know who those folks are, I definitely recommend looking them up. They're responsible for a very large part as to what theater is, and a lot of film, actually, film acting is today. So I sat in this white room in New Brunswick, New Jersey at the Mason Grove School of the Arts at Rutgers. And I saw some of the best acting that I'd ever seen in my life. That included any movie that I'd ever seen or play or anything like that. And I thought to myself, I want to be able to do this. I want what they have. So that day I decided I'm going to Rutgers. I won't go into my whole Rutgers story now because I promised to keep these episodes brief. Maybe I'll do that on another episode. But I learned there was I was going to say my big takeaway. There's like 700,000 takeaways. I would say one of the biggest takeaways for me is in relation to communication. And Meisner taught you that communication and acting wasn't about words, it was about behavior. So when you are acting well, you put your attention on the other person and live truthfully in the imaginary. And then along with that, live one unanticipated moment to the next. So you were letting go of how these moments were going to unfold. You had an objective, you had relationships, you knew who you are and what you wanted, but you didn't try to control what was happening moment to moment. It was an incredible lesson for me and something that I use every day to this day, actually. I left Rutgers to go to New York City. I was my first apartment was 340 West 47th Street between 8th and 9th Avenue. I wasn't ready to be an actor yet. I didn't have the maturity level to be an actor, which meant to be able to go into rooms, share my work my butt off, and then not expect anything in return. I wanted things in return. I wanted to get roles. And walking into rooms needing roles or wanting roles made me very unattractive. No matter how talented or well-trained I was as an actor, when you walk into a room needy, that's just not a good thing. So I was lost for a little while, skipping over a bit of the story, but a camera fell into my lap. And then I took another right-hand turn and became a professional photographer for a little bit over a decade in New York City. I shot mostly headshots and portraits. I became obsessed with photography. And the thing about photography that really inspired me, the thing I love most about it, was working one-on-one with someone and inspiring the best in that person to come out and play. That's what I believe my purpose is, to inspire the best in others to come out and play. Why? Because I believe the world is a better place when we're being our truest and best selves at play. And I am of the belief that as adults, we need to continue to play more and more and more and more. The idea that children play and adults are serious is a ridiculous idea in my eyes. So I always encourage people to play full out, to be who they really are. It's a big part of my journey and a big part of why I do what I do. While I was building my photography business, I needed some sort of way to support myself because I couldn't support myself as a photographer in the beginning of my career. I fell into working with a company called Kaios. It's the CIO Strategy Exchange, or Kaios for short. A friend of mine was, I think, the operations manager there. It's a very small firm. There was only 3 people. But what we did was bring together 25 Fortune 70 CIOs twice a year for a strategy exchange. When I got there, I had no idea what was going on or what I was doing. But I'm a quick learner. And I learned, and I had access to the problems that it was 2 groups of 25. We'd bring together 25 at a time, but it was in total 50 companies. So this is 50 Fortune 70 companies that are coming together to discuss the problems they're having at the largest companies on the planet Earth as they relate to technology. We're talking about Goldman Sachs, Lockheed Martin, Disney, Walmart, Coca-Cola, Exxon, you name it, the big biggies. And I learned a lot about IT. I learned a lot about presentations and how to present yourself to an audience. The group would sit around a table and exchange strategies. CEOs would come in and give presentations. Startups would come in and give presentations. So I learned this. I learned this business. I learned this sector. I learned a ton. It was kind of like a mini MBA. And I have to credit, and I'll mention her name now, Naomi Seligman was my mentor. She was one of the partners at Kaios. It was Ernie Von Simpson and Naomi Seligman. I have to say their names and credit them. Naomi is nothing less than, continues to be a living legend, and certainly a legend in IT consulting and IT in general. I learned so much from Naomi that I won't go into on this podcast, but it was definitely a mini MBA. I left Kaios as an employee. I stayed and as a consultant with them. And I was there for over 15 years. So I was a full-time photographer and also consulting with Kaios. I mean, I'm shooting actor headshots, and then there I am at in the Goldman Sachs boardroom listening to Lloyd Blankfein give a speech to our clients. It was a really, really weird and interesting life. We left New York City in 2020, and I won't go into my whole pandemic story. That's for another episode. And we landed in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. I had to rebirth my business. So I wasn't allowed to be a photographer in New York because I was deemed non-essential. So Soho Creative Studio, my company, my video marketing firm, was actually a rental space in Soho that I rented out to different productions, photographers. The name was literally Soho Creative Studio. I wanted it to be a clear name. It was at 158 Grand Street in Soho, an incredible neighborhood. And we brought Soho Creative Studio by name to New Hampshire and relaunched it as a branding agency. And when we came to New Hampshire in 2020, I spent most of my time just meeting people out in the physical world, going to networking events, joining chambers of commerce, and listening to small business owners to try to understand what problems they were having and how we could maybe help them. Myself, I'm a visual artist, presentation coach, communication strategist. My partner, Rebecca, she's a visual designer. She's been a textile designer, an interior designer for over 20 years, and she's pivoted into UX and UI design. And our buddy Taylor is a copywriter and PR specialist. So we all teamed up in this trifecta to rebirth Soho Creative Studio here in New Hampshire. And what an adventure it's been. And it's iterated to a place where we do video marketing. So we're a video marketing firm, and it's done for you video marketing. We like to say all you have to do is show up and shine. We'll plan, we'll produce, and we'll promote your video marketing. Literally all you have to do is get on camera in front of us, and we'll take care of the rest. And a big part of what we do is remote video marketing. So working over this platform, the Riverside platform, we can do video marketing campaigns with anybody in the world. And I don't have to be in the room with them, and we can create content together that's 4K content with incredibly 48 hertz audio, and we make a video marketing campaign. We're working with a client now They've got 25 people all over the world, but we're doing a whole bunch of thought leader product demo videos with them, and we'll never be in the room with them. We're working fully remotely. It's a really exciting time, we feel, to be doing this. I'm very excited as a co-founder of Soho Creative that we've landed in a place where, as a multi-hyphenate, things have come together. And I am keeping an eye on the time here. So I fell into another thing. So I teach business communication, or what I like to call work-ready communication, at the University of New Hampshire, Paul College of Economics and Business, or Business and Economics. I teach a course helping undergraduate business students enter the real world and have soft skills to be able to communicate effectively. I've created a method of communication called the 3C method. It stands for courageous, clear, and compelling. So I teach people a structure on how to be a courageous, clear, and compelling communicator. So Michael, why courageous? Life starts at courage. I'm a big fan of the book Letting Go. Hawkins, I believe, is the author's last name. And he gives you vibrationals, like the human vibration. Shame is the lowest human vibration. This was actually a surprise for me. I didn't realize shame was the lowest vibration, but then when I think about it, it makes complete sense. Shame is the lowest human vibration. Then I think you move up to guilt and then anger. Eventually in the middle, you hit courage. And that's when the vibration becomes positive. So literally life begins with courage. So being a courageous, clear, and compelling communicator, the cost of entry is to be coming from a place where you're not afraid, but you're moving forward in spite of obstacle. That's all that courage is. And I coach my clients on this all the time. You don't have to be not afraid. And in fact, it's actually kind of better if you're nervous, because then you have a villain to push against. And there is no story without a good villain. So if you're pushing against nerves and in front of people, this can be very, very moving for an audience. And sure, it's great to be totally confident and not have any nerves. But I would remind those out there that are afraid to get on camera or in front of an audience, if you're waiting for a time not to be nervous, that time is probably never going to come. And good, and that's a good thing. So right now, as a multi-hyphenate, I do a few things. I teach at the college level. I'm an adjunct professor at UNH. I'm a co-founder. I spend most of my time with Soho Creative Studio doing video marketing for small business owners, and we're starting to move into large enterprises, which is very exciting. I also have my own brand, this podcast being one thing. I still shoot as a photographer. I still act. I've still got a manager. I still go out on auditions. I'm still auditioning for shows that shoot in New York or wherever. I'm trying to think of some other things I do. I exercise a lot. I walk something like 12,000 steps a day. I'm really big into fitness. I read like crazy. I love films. I love theater. I love travel. I have all these interests, but things changed for me only recently when I read a book, and I have to give her credit for it. I'm looking off here to the book. It's called The Portfolio Life by Christina Wallace. And for me, I used to try to singularize myself or put myself into a box. When people are like, well, what do you do? I'm like, I'm a photographer. And I would resist the urge to say, well, I work at an IT firm. I also do photography. I also act. I also make films. I also coach entrepreneurs on public speaking. I always resisted that urge because people always wanted to kind of push me into a box. And eventually and recently, I've come to a place where I'm like, you know what? It's not a disadvantage that I've had this nonlinear life and I still have all of these interests. It's actually an advantage. And it continues to be an advantage. And certainly in business, my ability to have an acting degree for the 3C method and then also understand communication strategy that they use at McKinsey to this day and put these two things together to create something that's way better than just the strategic communication and just the acting techniques is huge. So for those of you out here that don't know where to start, I didn't know where to start and I didn't know how to pull things together. Just do something. If you don't know where to start, do something, anything at all. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be perfect. And when we do something, like whether it's take a walk or write something or open your laptop and just start writing. One of my favorite books is The Artist's Way. I mentioned a couple books on this episode. The Artist's Way is incredible. The exercise is morning pages. Highly recommend this book. You literally just sit down and write 3 pages of longhand without thinking about it. You just start writing. You don't sit there and wait to have an idea. you literally just start moving the pen on the page, and you can even write something like, I have nothing to say, I have nothing to think about, there are no ideas in my head, and every time without fail, something is going to happen. So I'd say for those of us that are struggling with, I don't know where to start. Just do something. And it's something that I have to remind myself of basically every day. I'm looking at the time. I'm just about at 20. I'm going to close it out right here. Thank you for being here on my first episode. I am thrilled to start this. This is subject matter that I really care about, that I'm passionate about, and I know there's a lot of us out there that have many, many, many interests, and we have real difficulty putting these into kind of a singular business or brand without having to just go, I'm going to be an accountant, I'm going to leave acting behind or leave writing behind or leave music behind. None of us have to do that. And there is a way to take the broadness and the vastness and the limitlessness that we are and put it into something and to continue to evolve, because I truly believe the future belongs to those of us that are multi-hyphenate. With skills disappearing because people are writing computer programs and we've got AI and all this stuff, we're going to talk about all these topics on the podcast. But for those of us that have a wide range of interests, that remain curious, that are creative, that can skill up quickly, I believe the future belongs to folks like us and not the folks that want to specialize in something. Thanks for joining me. Again, I am your host, Michael Cinquino, and this was the first episode of the Multi-Hyphenate Mastery Podcast. See you next time.